Welcome to Let's Talk Brock.
All right, welcome to this episode of the Let's Talk Brock podcast. I'm your host, Liam Nielsen, and joining me today is Gianluca Agostinelli. He is a Brock alumni and a current employee at Brock within the Faculty of Education. And Gianluca has completed quite a few degrees at Brock, including a Bachelor of Arts in English Language and Literature, a Bachelor of Education in Concurrent Education Intermediate Senior, a Master of Arts in English Language and Literature, a Master of Education, and is currently working on a Doctorate of Philosophy. Gianluca, I gotta ask, are you going for the record? Are you trying to complete every degree that we offer at Brock?
Honestly, sometimes it feels like it, but for the time being, I think that this is going to be my last degree. I made that promise to myself many years ago after I had finished the first master's, and for whatever reason, I did not keep that promise. So I have convinced myself that this time around, the PhD will definitely be the last educational pursuit.
All right, sounds good. I mean, we'll see what the future holds, but I'll take your word for it now. But I'd love to hear about your educational path. You know, what led you towards these degrees? Talk a little bit about your experiences in them, in the programs and degrees that you've completed, and any experiential learning opportunities along the way that you'd like to highlight.
For sure. So I started at Brock University all the way back in 2009, believe it or not. I started as an undergraduate student in Brock's concurrent education program. And I had gone into that program specifically because I knew from an early age that I wanted to teach. So I decided to enroll in Con Ed at the intermediate senior level, wanting to become an English teacher. So I ended up pursuing an honors of English, and then I coupled that with a minor in human geography, which was always another passion and interest of mine. So when I had graduated from Brock University the first time, I had started working as an English and geography teacher. And I decided to return to Brock University to pursue a Master of English Literature because I had always been so impassioned by the study and analysis of literature. So I had signed up for that 1 year program right after Teachers College. And I was in it for the whole year. I ended up completing my major research paper, which focused on Italian Canadian writing. And then I had decided to enroll in the Master of Education program because I felt like part of me wanted to further explore pedagogy. And I sort of came at a crossroads because I had to determine whether I wanted to pursue further studies in literature or whether I wanted to take teaching more seriously. And I decided that I wanted to focus more so on curriculum development, which is why I opted for the Master of Education program. So I'm going to backtrack just a bit to get into the experiential learning components. During my undergrad, I was able to take part in a service learning placement, I think all the way back in first or second year. And that was through a child and youth studies course. So I was fortunate enough to be based at Mary Ward Catholic School in Niagara Falls, which was actually my former elementary school. So everything kind of came back full circle for me. And then obviously through Teachers College, I was able to complete my student teaching placements at a variety of high schools across the Niagara region. And that for me was a really rewarding component of the program. And it's something that I always look back on with great fondness because I was able to work alongside my own classmates as colleagues, and we were able to establish such strong and meaningful connections with our students at the high school level. So that experience motivated me to want to take teaching more seriously and to sort of refine my craft, which is why I decided eventually to pursue more studies in education. And before enrolling in the Master of Arts program in English Lit, my buddies and I decided that we wanted to teach overseas for a bit. So we signed up for an additional qualification course through Brock University, which specialized in English as a second language instruction. And so we were actually placed in China, in northern China at the time, to do our practicum. So we were teaching elementary students in the city of Weifang, which is very remote and rural. And then from there, we traveled to Shanghai and Kunshan, where we did a little more teaching in the south of China as well. So we were able to couple what it was that we already knew in terms of teaching here domestically in an international context. And just the experience of being over there with my friends is one of the most rewarding stories of my life. And it's something that, again, I'm able to look back upon with great joy, I guess, and great fondness. So I know that my classmates and my friends really do value that experience, and that's something that Brock University has been implementing for a very long time. And so once I finished the Master of Education program, I had decided to pursue educational studies further, and that's when I signed up for the PhD in education, and that was in 2016. So I'm still enrolled in that program. I'm at the stage now where I'm actively writing my dissertation, and I should be able to defend it by the spring of 2022, so not too far away. And the nature of my work in the PhD program focuses on different ways to prevent sexual violence in post-secondary athletics.
Wow, that is quite a lot of experiences you have under your belt. A lot of them through Brock, which is really great to see. Uh, just keep in mind for all of the students, prospective students, current students listening to this, these experiences are not just like a one-time thing. Like anybody can go and do all these things that you've mentioned. You just got to seek it out. Really, it's really the onus is on you to make the most out of your Brock experience, and I would say that you certainly have done that. So you're very, firmly entrenched in the educational world at this point. So what are your long-term career goals, sort of, I guess, after your PhD is completed?
So right now, due to my educational training and background, I think that teaching at the post-secondary level would be something that I would aspire toward. Whether that is going to be on the research end or strictly in the teaching stream is something that's going to be up for debate, depending obviously on job availability. So there are some careers in Canada which offer a teaching track pathway, and that would allow individuals to simply focus on pedagogy and instruction. Whereas the traditional professor role, we'll say, is focused both on research and teaching. So the teaching track positions have become quite common in Canada now because there's not a lot of emphasis placed on research when there doesn't have to be. So specifically for teacher training, for instance, in the teacher education program, many of the practitioners are seasoned educators who don't necessarily want to research, but simply want to relay their experience to be able to train future educators. So if I could find a position wherein I could teach, maybe do some writing and a bit of research, that would be ideal for me. And I think at this point, all fingers are pointing toward the role of a professor. So fingers crossed that I'm able to pick something up in the near future.
Yeah, fingers crossed for sure. And you have some experience under your belt already, as I understand it. You've already been employed in the Faculty of Education and the Faculty of Humanities, I believe, for quite some time now. So do you want to talk a little bit about some of the roles that you've held in there?
Absolutely. So I started working in the Faculty of Education as a graduate teaching assistant in 2015, I believe. And I was able to work under the supervision of Dr. Susan Drake, who's been in the Faculty of Education for many years at Brock University. And eventually I was hired on as an education instructor to teach Susan Drake's courses while she was on leave. So I sort of got promoted from this role of graduate teaching assistant to instructor. And that was in 2017. So I started teaching courses on assessment and evaluation, curriculum development, and instruction. And I've been teaching those courses at the senior undergraduate level for a few years. And a couple of years ago, Dr. Hilary Brown, who's also in the Faculty of Education, she is our associate dean, invited me to take on a different position in addition to the education instructor role. And that position is the practicum advisor. So I get to actually evaluate students who are in their teaching placements, which is super rewarding because I get to see how they're teaching in the classroom and I get to give them feedback and advice based on my own experience as a teacher. So I've been working with the primary, junior, and intermediate cohort for the past few years. I believe I started in 2018, and I've had a few teaching partners along the way, all of whom have been fantastic. And our goal there is to train these prospective educators to the best of our ability to ensure that they are going to be successful in the classroom. So the most rewarding part for me always is being able to make those meaningful connections with students, whether it's in the kindergarten classroom or whether it's at the teacher's college level. I'm always interested in getting to know our students and really trying to figure out how to best support them.
Yeah, for sure. That's some great pieces of experience you have there. And I guess, the short answer for what have your experiences been is, all of them. It sounds like you've had every single experience you can imagine. But shifting gears now outside of the classroom into some more extracurricular stuff. I understand you've somehow managed to carve out time throughout your Brock experience over the past number of years to have some extracurricular experiences, not only on campus, but also off campus in the Niagara region. So what are some ones that you want to highlight there?
I think I'll begin with my time as a member of the Brock University varsity men's tennis team. And so I've been participating on that team for the past few years. I think I'm on year 5 at this point. So that probably means that I'm on my way out or should be on my way out very shortly. And I just want to thank all of the guys who have participated in making that team what it can be. They are a wonderful group of guys. They've been with me since day one. Many of them obviously have moved on from Brock University. They have graduated, but the team would not be what it is without them. So I do really want to thank Jeff Gould, who was the individual who sort of recalibrated our team many years ago to ensure that we would have ongoing success. And so it was really odd for me at times being in the classroom as an instructor and as a practicum advisor while being a student athlete. And so that's something that I had to really negotiate. It's something that I had to navigate. And so when I would explain to my students at Brock that I was a student athlete, they kind of raised an eyebrow because they were trying to figure out how old I am, which has always been an interesting question and an interesting conversation in class. So if anything, it allowed me to really connect with students and to really empathize with what it was that they were going through, because I told them, like, I know what it's like having responsibilities outside of the classroom. And I know how meaningful extracurriculars can be to students, not only you yourselves, but also to the students that we're teaching. So my time at Brock has been, I guess, comprehensive in that I've tried to take advantage of athletics, academics, and extracurriculars. And that's sort of where I was inspired to pursue extracurricular activity or volunteerism outside of Brock University. So off campus, I was working with the United Way of South Niagara. I was one of the directors for the Gen Next committee here in Niagara Falls. And I was working closely with their director at the time, who was Dave D'Angelo. And we were responsible for fundraising. We were trying to fundraise as much as possible for their 75th anniversary. So we were organizing a variety of events, which culminated in one charity ball at Casamia, a restaurant in Niagara Falls. So we were fortunate to be part of that experience, and that afforded a great deal of networking. We were able to work closely with community partners and charities. So very worthwhile, very fulfilling, and a great way to give back to our community. And in the same vein, I started working for the Canadian Italian Business and Professional Association of Niagara, also as a member of their board of directors. And for them, I did a lot of marketing and public relations and event management. So I was using the skills that I had cultivated through Brock University and applying them in different facets. And I think that's the one thing that I always focus on with my students, is being able to understand what one's transferable skills are, and more importantly, appreciating how it is to apply them outside the classroom. So again, overall, a super rewarding experience, and I've been able to make so many meaningful connections with individuals both at Brock University and beyond Brock, simply through virtue of volunteering.
Yeah, for sure. Transferable skills is one of my favorite terms I like to use when I'm talking about Brock to prospective students. I always like to say, like, you're not necessarily just learning whatever program you've signed up for. You're also just learning. You're learning how to think, and you're learning how to act like a professional, and you're learning how to communicate. It's all these very foundational skills that you're going to need going forward in your career. So it sounds like that's been sort of the biggest lasting impact for you that you've taken away from Brock, which is excellent to hear. And I guess one last question before we go, just any pieces of advice. You mentioned you had always wanted to teach ever since you were younger. So any pieces of advice for our aspiring teachers looking to sign up for the concurrent education or the consecutive education or one of our other programs that could lead there, that you might want to pass along?
Absolutely. So I know that right now in Ontario, it's very difficult to get a full-time teaching position. And I know that many educators are frustrated because of that. And one of the pieces of advice that I always relate to my students is that there are multiple roles in education. So I think individuals come into a program like concurrent education and they see only one exit. They see only one pathway, and that is to become a homeroom teacher, because that is what they had signed up for. And I remind students, especially when they're in fourth or fifth year, that outside of the formal classroom, there are still so many rewarding positions that allow individuals to connect with students. So they could work, for instance, in assessment and evaluation, they can work in curriculum design, they can work in a variety of different positions, some of which are not even known to them at the time. So I always encourage students to see what types of opportunities or career pathways are available to them outside of the formal classroom. And if they are dead set on being a homeroom teacher, then I just encourage them to stay motivated, because it can be at times a very long road to full-time employment. But along the way, they are able to accrue so much experience, which is going to be valuable eventually when they do have their own classroom. So simply keep your head in the game, stay focused, and keep moving forward.
Awesome. I think those are some very encouraging words of advice, great pieces of insight there. Gianluca, thank you very much for joining us. Is there anything else you want to add before we hop off here?
Thank you so much. I just want to say to everybody who is thinking about coming to Brock University, enjoy the moment. Those 4 years fly by. Trust
Oh
me,
yeah.
I've been at Brock for like 12, and it's almost like, they all flew by in the blink of an eye. So really take the time to appreciate where you're at. Enjoy every moment of being at Brock University because those years, they do fly by.
Very wise words. I've been here only a third of the time as you have, but just entering my fourth year now, I am really shocked at how quickly the time has flown by. So I would definitely echo that. But thank you once again for joining us. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, you can contact us by email at futurestudent@brocku.ca.